Happy Sunday, June 26th. It is a wonderful, warm summer day, and I hope that you have all been enjoying the first week of summer. I am Jamie Green, the Solar Queen, and if you're watching on the various social media channels and you're watching live, feel free to ask any questions that you might have, put in any comments or questions. Um, and if you're watching on the replay, you can always put them there and I will come back and answer them. So I'm Jamie Green, the Solar Queen, and I help businesses and homeowners go solar and save on their energy costs. And in tonight's live stream video, I wanted to address what happens if you don't get enough solar panels, or what happens if you buy a house with an existing solar system, or what happens if your solar system is working and all of a sudden you see your production drop and your inverter goes out or something happens and it takes a while for your solar installer to come out and fix things, or maybe they've gone out of business. So that is what I'm going to be discussing in tonight's live stream. And if you're watching live, please share this out. I would love it, love it, love it. If you're watching live and you want to say hello, please say hello, just like David J May 96. Maybe you're in Hawaii with the hang loose, but thanks so much for saying hi on my YouTube channel. And yes, so share this out, especially if you know someone who is thinking of getting solar, or someone who does have solar, or someone who just would benefit from this information. So let's talk about what happens. What happens when you get solar and you don't get enough solar panels. So a couple of stories. I went out to a solar installation this last week. I just uploaded the video onto YouTube, so make sure you go watch the video. It's not very long, but I talk about the importance of monitoring your solar system and the fact that this homeowner actually we could only offset her energy bill by 80%. So for those who have never thought about solar energy before and you're curious to know, how does a solar system get sized for a home? Well, I live in a neighborhood where several of the houses are the same footprint, but obviously different numbers of people live in the house and different people like to live differently. Maybe you can't stand it being hot, and so you run your air conditioning all the time and you use twice as much energy as your neighbor who's like super ultra conservative with their energy, and everything's turned off, and they don't want to, they just don't want to use a lot of power, but they live in the same square footage of home. Some people think, well, my neighbor has 8 panels, why do I need to get 15? Or my neighbor has 20 panels, why do I only need 10? That's the reason, is because everyone has different energy consumption patterns or habits. And so with things coming online like electric vehicles, or people just the heat's getting unbearable, so they're either putting in a heat pump or they're putting in central air, their usage is going to naturally go up and their energy costs are going to go up as well, unless they get solar energy. So we take the energy consumption for the annual historic year. This applies to both homes and businesses. And this applies to homeowners and businesses that are not either one, they just moved into their house and we're trying to estimate their loads and estimate how much energy they're going to need, solar energy they're going to need, and then all the things. So this is what we factor in when we're trying to estimate a system size. And this is important because when the system is sized properly, like I was at my middle son had a birthday party today, and one of the dads was there, and he said, hey, my brother's interested in solar because I helped them go solar. And they said, we just got a credit. And I go, but it's not your true up yet. He goes, yeah, it's not. So we're kind of curious what that might be. And so he pulled up his utility bill right then there on the spot, and we looked at it, and I was showing him he's got a lot of credits coming in, which is good, but he doesn't true up until October. So a true up, if you want to know what a true up is when your utility company like kind of puts this mark in the year. Like say they got their solar power got turned on in October of last year, so they won't true up or settle up with the utility company until October. So they will, I think they're going to come out with a credit, which is great because that's what you want to do when you get solar. You don't ever really want to be owing the utility company if you can prevent that or avoid that. So that's scenario number one. Scenario number two is this homeowner that I went to in Vacaville and saw the installation. We knew, she knew, I knew, we knew straight away we weren't going to be able to offset their entire historic usage. I think her historic usage was like 12,000 kilowatt hours, and we could only offset 80% of that. So I'm going to do the math really quickly because I'm not very good. I guess what? 12, okay, just hold on. 12,000 times 80%. So we could only offset 9,600 kilowatt hours, give or take. And the rest of the kilowatt hours she was going to have to either, and that's 2,400 kilowatt hours, that she's either going to have to figure out how to conserve on or change some of the way that she does her life, load shifting and whatnot, or just be okay. I mean, she's already paying for 12,000 kilowatt hours to the utility company. She's already used to paying that, but she'll just, most of it's going to be offset by the solar, and she's saving a tremendous amount of money, but she'll just have to, owe the utility company when she gets her true up next year. If it still remains 2,400 kilowatt hours, that's what she's going to have to pay and true up with her utility company. And right now at that rate, 2,400 kilowatt hours at about 38 cents. So she needs to she's going to have to be okay with paying the utility company about $900. And she will always know where she stands with the utility company because they show a graph and they show you where you're at with what your system, not necessarily what your system is generating for you, but how much energy you sent to the grid and how much you pulled from the grid. And that is where you settle up. I also had a conversation with a homeowner who bought a house 6 years ago. And 6 years ago, there was a solar system on the house. Then the solar system was purchased by the previous owner. So that home has 20 solar panels on it, which is great because 10 years ago, this is how people were buying solar, or the thoughts, the mindset. So if you're watching this and you bought a house or had a house and you got solar 10 years ago, this is what was happening 10 years ago. The panel wattage sizes were maybe 175, 185 watt panels, maybe 200 if you were lucky. And they got 20 solar panels on their rooftop. So 20, say they were 185 watt panels. They had a 3.7 kilowatt system. So if you're watching and you have any questions about anything that I'm talking about, please put them in the comments and I will answer them. But so 185 times 20 is 3,700. And that is a 3.7 kilowatt system. So for a while, so that was great. And the mindset back then, 10 years ago, when solar was coming to the scene and more people were thinking about it and going with it, they were thinking, gosh, just anything that I can do to stay out of tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 of the billing that PG&E. So I'm in Northern California, we're in PG&E, but this was across the state. All the utility companies actually had 4 tiers of rates. So back in the day, it was to stay out of tier 2 and tier 3 and tier 4, which is what they would charge you for the more energy you were using. So, and back then, 10 years ago, the kilowatt hour rate was probably 10, 12 cents a kilowatt hour, which is similar to where Washington State is. And the reason why I know that is because I've had a couple of conversations with friends and homeowners and family members that are up in Washington, and that's what they're paying, about 9 to 11 cents. So we used to be that in California 10 years ago. And now we're at 38 to 50 cents a kilowatt hour for peak usage, which is insane. I think it's insane. And for those who live in Hawaii, this is something that I just saw on the news on Wednesday, actually, that in September is when they are set to shut down their last coal burning power plant, which is great for, for our environment and great for fighting climate change and all of that. But it just means until they can get all the renewable energy sources up and operational, they're going to have to burn oil to create energy. And that means your rates are going to go up. So if you're watching and you're in Hawaii, you may want to consider getting solar and a battery for your home to prevent the experience of massive rate increases. And I would imagine they're going to be in the 60 to 70, mid 60s per kilowatt hour, because I know a couple years ago they were in the mid 50s. So I'm talking like 55 cents. I bet you it's going to go up into the 60s if it's not already there. So back in the day, they would just try and stay out of the higher rate territory and be okay with paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour and then having a solar payment that would be less than and cover the rest of their energy usage. Well, that was great then, but that's not how the utility companies are charging homeowners and businesses anymore. They've switched everybody over to 2 tiers and high surcharge if you're still lucky enough to be on the tiered system. And then now most everyone's gone over to time of use, and that is by design. And that is where people are paying in the mid high 30s and not early 40s. I'm in my early 40s. But the low to mid 40s cent per kilowatt hour, which for some people, that's like doubling what they were paying when they went from tiered to time of use. So what that means is for every year that you have your true up, you are paying more and more and more and more every single year until you do something about it, which the only thing to really do about it is to add more solar if you can. And the good news is today, solar panel wattages are, 350. It is probably the minimum wattage panel that you're going to see on the residential, and maybe 330s. 330 watt panels are probably going to be the smallest wattage panels you're going to see out there on the marketplace now. But we're starting to get into the 400s and 425s and the 440s and 450 watt residential solar panels, as well as commercial grade panels, which just means for the same footprint. So think about this homeowner who had 20 solar panels on their house 10 years ago. That means that same footprint could generate probably twice as much power energy than what they have existing on their house. So Sunshine City Solar Light Jamaica, hello. Does that mean that you are watching all the way from Jamaica, or are you from Jamaica? Are you Jamaican that lives in the United States, or are you watching from Jamaica? I'm so curious. Please let me know. And thanks for saying hello. So going back to that house with the 20 solar panels, 6 years ago when they bought the house, they may have been paying like a $1,500 true up, which is still not so bad. They were still saving money on their other energy costs, because this home, the solar system was generating about probably 500 kilowatt hours, maybe 600 at the most, but let's say 600 kilowatt hours times 12. So that's 7,200 kilowatt hours, maybe a little bit less. And then, the panels they all degrade over time. And then, so you're watching and living in Jamaica. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm so happy that I have viewers from Jamaica. How cool is that? And it looks like you're in solar and you're helping Jamaicans get solar panels on their rooftops because you live with a lot of sunshine. Yeah, that's great. So let me know if you're in the solar industry, if you have solar, or in what capacity that you are helping people. Yeah. Lots of love to you too. Look at the little love heart there. Okay, so going back to this example, we realized in the true up, we looked at their true up, and they're in the process of making the decision to add more panels to their home, which they thankfully have enough roof space to accommodate a second solar system and to offset all of their energy that they are paying in the true up, which today or their recent true up was $6,000. And a true up, you have to pay, it's like a lump sum payment. Like it's like you pay it once. And they're just like, we need help. We don't understand how solar works. We just bought this house with the solar, et cetera, et cetera. So, okay. So Billy Frank Ferguson says hello from Texas. Hello from California. Thanks so much for saying hi. And are you a homeowner that doesn't have a solar or has solar, or are you in the solar industry? Because I know a lot of my network on Facebook, half of them, I wouldn't say half, maybe a third or a quarter of them are in the solar industry helping people. Yes, in the floodlights and the street lights. Okay, and about to start selling panels soon. That's great. I'm assuming that the floodlights and the street lights are what is it called? Solar powered, maybe charging them up and so that they can use them at night. And Billy says, yes, I'm an independent sales consultant for power. Well, good for you, Billy. I hope that you can help a lot of people in Texas go solar and save on their energy costs, because you guys in Texas just saw a rate increase, more than you probably were ready for. Because I've met with homeowners in Texas where they used to pay 9-10 cents a kilowatt hour, and I hear it's getting up into the high teens, not quite hitting the 20-cent mark per kilowatt hour, but up there. So I hope you do well with that. Yes, solar power. Awesome. Well, good for you, Sunshine City Solar Light in Jamaica. And I like that that's your name on YouTube. So going back to this story, though, of the homeowners who buy a home that have solar power, this is what I'm going to tell you. You may come into a house that has a solar system, which is great because at the end of the day, you're still saving money. You're still saving money because that for this homeowner, it was, about 6,000 kilowatt hours that they didn't have to pay for at today's current rates. So, but a $6,000 true up, when they've seen it inch like continually grow in how much they owed every year, but their energy consumption wasn't really changing. That was, I think, what they were trying to, like, kind of baffled about. So when you have if nothing's changed but rates have increased, compounding every single year, of course it's going to follow the rate increase change. And the only way to do something about that and to eliminate that is to add more solar if you have the roof space. And if you don't have the roof space, like the homeowner that I went to in Vacaville, the one of two things you have to accept. Either one, you're going to have a true up and it's going to continue to increase a little bit at a time, but imagine what you would be paying if you didn't have all that solar. Or two, at some point in time, it might be a good idea. They weren't interested in batteries at the time, but at some point in time, it might be a good idea to get a battery. And then so that during the day when you're not home, your solar energy is, rather than going to the grid and the utility company selling that to your neighbors and giving you net metering credit for non-peak kilowatt hour valued credit, it will go into your battery. Then your battery you can pull from your battery during peak hours, and then it's truly a one-to-one net meter, a true one-to-one ratio, using the energy credit that was generated during the non-peak hours. You can use it during the peak, which is much more expensive. And then you have backup power in an event of a power outage. So a friend of mine got solar, got 2 backup batteries. He tagged me in his post. Thank you, Tian. He tagged me in his post saying, so grateful I have solar and batteries, because he did a screenshot of his power outage notification from the utility company, and he's immune to the power outages. So those are kind of the benefits of the batteries. The batteries don't generate power. It just stores the power to be used at a different time of day. So I want to be clear about that. There are no batteries that actually store power. That generate power, but they store power. And some batteries you can even, if you don't have enough solar, or even if you don't have solar, I know that the Tesla Powerwalls can act like this. You can get the batteries and the grid, you can have the grid feed the batteries during the non-peak hours, stop it'll top off, and then you can be able to use the non-peak hours that you filled the battery up with. You can use that during those peak hours, and it's called peak shaving, and avoid having to pay for energy during peak hours. That's an expensive way to get around that, but for the people that have been in their home for a long time and they're seeing that their rates, even though their usage hasn't increased by much, their utility bills, that's what everyone's experiencing right now, those that don't have solar. So I was talking about, if you buy a house that already has solar, the good news is that solar power is going to give you a lot of energy, hopefully for free, because hopefully you're buying a house that had a purchase system and not a leased system. Even if it's a leased system, and you agree to take over the lease and go through the leasing company, at least it's not as much price per kilowatt hour as what you would otherwise be paying to the utility company. But if you're in a house that has a purchased solar system and you're moving in, it might take you a little while to kind of understand, is that solar system going to generate enough power for your family, or you and your spouse, or just you? Not just families and married people buy houses, but the point being is that solar system is going to generate hopefully a good amount, if not all of your energy needs. But if not, you need to just have the knowledge and hopefully education, if you're watching this video or this live stream, that you're going to have a true up. And so the only way to really know that is log into your online account or pay attention to your utility bills, because it'll show you where your true up is at. Is it in a deficit or is it in a surplus? If it's in a deficit, you're going to pay the utility company. If it's in a surplus, they're going to give you a credit or pay you for that, for the excess energy. If you find that, gosh, I like solar power and it's not enough and we need more, and you have enough roof space and you want to add it, you're welcome to do that. I've helped a lot of homeowners add second. I shouldn't say I've helped a lot, but in the recent months, I have had a lot of conversations about their true ups. And I've helped homeowners getting second systems put on their rooftops, either because they bought a house with an existing system or they bought it first and things changed. Like they added air conditioning, they added 2 EVs and they're charging them from home, or they got a hot tub. These things will definitely change your consumption, which then means if your solar system was not big enough to begin with to offset some of that power that you were not planning for, because I don't think people were thinking electric vehicles the way we are today 6-7 years ago. I mean, when Tesla started manufacturing and people manufacturing electric vehicles and people were buying them, I think people kind of laughed at it and thought, oh my gosh, this is just so crazy. Like, who would buy an electric car? But now there's these mandates for states to be having as many electric vehicles, to get rid of gas-powered cars. There are all the electric cars that are coming onto the market. The car manufacturers have all made pledges and decisions that they're all moving to electric vehicles. And what this is doing is it's causing for more electricity that's needed that we haven't ever accounted for. And one way that you can do it in a very clean way is with solar panels, and then charging your car from home with the energy that comes from the sun. So that is something to also think about. But people things change, lives change, our lifestyles change, our families grow, we move to bigger houses, things like this happen, and so your energy consumption changes, and you just want to try. When I meet with homeowners who are going, I'm planning for this and that and this and that, the utility company PG&E will let you go up to 200% offset. All that means is, say you use 10,000 kilowatt hours historically, but they'll let you go up to plan and put in solar for up to 200%, but there's a catch. They will only pay you credits for up to 120% offset. So the 80%, the rest of the 80% of that, 200%, you won't get net metering credits for. I believe that's how the net metering agreement. I should look at my own, but that's my understanding, is anything beyond that, they're not going to give you credits for. If, say, you're like, oh, I want to make a ton of money from the utility company, I'm going to buy, 200% offset and expect for them to give you net metering credits for 80% of what you've never used to use. That's a different story. You kind of have to use it or lose it. So even people that are thinking of getting solar, and an EV might be 2-3 years down the road, and they don't want to have to go through a second solar system installation, I let them know, hey, that's fine, we can do that. But for the first year or two, if you don't use the energy, you lose it until you start using it. And then the utility will catch up with that, your historic usage and all of that good stuff. So that's kind of what happens when you don't get enough solar panels to begin with. What happens? You're going to have a true up, and the only way to fix that is by adding more solar, or cutting way back on your energy, or just being okay with paying for the true up. And then the solution is, obviously, I just mentioned it. It's been a fun weekend. The solution is a good solution, if you're like the homeowner who has the $6,000 true up. One, make sure your existing system is working, and he did get it up and running again, because apparently it was down for a little bit, but that, down for a little bit. He got it back up and running, and now he still has a $6,000 true up, and it's consistent with what the past years have been. And I told him, excuse me, I told him, even if he nothing was wrong with his solar, he never had sorry, I don't have water in my room, and my throat's getting a little dry, which means it's time to end the live stream because I've been talking too much. But I was telling him he never had enough solar to begin with. So I want to let you guys all know that solar systems have their limitations. Woo! Sorry about that, everybody. You never know what's going to happen on a live stream. So thanks for watching, for those who are still watching and hearing me out. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys, especially if, one, if you live in a house that or even you have a building that has limited roof space, you want to use as much of that roof space as you possibly can, or you go to carports or ground mount, or you do something like that. It's a little bit more expensive, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do if you want to hedge yourself from future rate increases, which will always be going on, whether we like it or not. So here's where you can reach out to me. If you're watching on platforms like Facebook or LinkedIn, or I think Twitter, things like that, you can send me a message on the platform that you're watching on. If you're watching, or if you just want to go right to my my website, you can go there to JamieGreen, and you can watch a lovely little video of me talking about the benefits of solar. And you can fill out a little form. And what that's going to do is it's going to, you're going to have the opportunity to fill out a little bit of information, enough for me to go, let's have a conversation, or let's meet on the Zoom or on the phone. And you can self-set an appointment that works for you to meet with me about your business or your home and getting solar energy. And then we meet either, like I said, on a phone call. If you're not comfortable with meeting on Zoom, Or if you want to meet on Zoom, we can meet on Zoom and we can go and do an analysis of your energy consumption, the age and roof type that you have, and things like your main service panel rating. What is it? And is it big enough to take the back feed of a solar system? What your plans are during a power outage, if you want a battery or not. Batteries, the Tesla Powerwalls are right now, the one installer I have that typically has really good access and has not had a shortage with Powerwalls. They're experiencing a shortage with Powerwalls in California. So Powerwalls, Enphase batteries, Solar Edge batteries, and LG batteries. I have all access to those batteries. Hopefully more in the future, but that's what I have access to in California. Those are all things that we would discuss on our discovery call, that I call that, and understand what your plans are so that we get you enough solar and then some, especially if you're not going to get a battery. Sizing the system appropriately so that we can avoid the true up, because no one likes to get a true up, believe it or not. Even if it's a couple $100, it's okay, but I want to make sure you don't have a true up, because I know that the cost or the cost per kilowatt hour for solar is so much, like almost half, if not more than half of what you're paying to the utility company. And that's financed if you decide you want to finance the system. So that being said, you should buy a little bit more solar power to offset your time of use and any future plans that you have in the next 1 to 2 years, and be okay with, you're still going to save money. That's the crazy thing, is you're still in California, you're still going to save money. Places like Washington, I met with a good longtime friend, very shaded area, lots of hips and valleys in her rooftop, and just she would need to buy twice the system size she needs to generate the power, just because of living so far north, having the shading, and then she needed a new roof on top of it. So it was just one of those things where it's like, I know you really want solar, but it's probably best that you just continue to pay the utility company, because she was paying such cheap cheap energy up in Washington State. So these are the types of conversations that we would have, and I would love to help you. The other thing that you should know is the 26% federal tax credit that's helping cover some of the cost associated with solar. We have that for the rest of the year. And that means your system needs to be commissioned by the end of the year. And we're halfway through 2022, which is just mind-boggling to me. We're less than 6 months away from Christmas, which is crazy, and it's going to fly by. So if you're serious about it, go to my website, fill out the form, upload a copy of your utility bill, and let's meet and talk about this transition to solar energy. It is a transition, and it's not going to happen overnight. Especially I was talking with someone about the timelines and the processes pre-COVID and post-COVID. And for everyone who's gone solar post-COVID, it's been much longer than what it was like when there was pre-COVID. And that's just because a lot of the AHJs had full-time, lots of employees working in the buildings, processing permits and processing, or scheduling inspections and whatnot. But it's just, there's just so many delays around that. And so those are the kinds of things we would be discussing as expectations of timelines. So a lot covered in this live stream. I hope you all enjoyed it. And for those who said hello, thank you for saying hello. For those interested in solar, go to my website right there and set up a meeting with me. And I'll see you guys in the next live stream. I like to try and go live on Sundays and do the Solar Sunday conversation. If you like it and got value out of this, please just let me know. And we'll see you guys later. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.